Welcome to the Real Estate Show on KMED this February 14th and 15th. Happy Valentine's Day to you. Here today on Saturday anyway. Of course, the show repeats at 9 o'clock on Sunday morning as well, right here on AM 1440 and FM 106.7. I just want to tell you, next week here on the Real Estate Show, we're going to go from talking about real estate, buying and selling kinds of things today, to check in on the rental market next week. Laurel Adams from All Cities Property Management will be along, and we hope you'll join us then. It's amazing how that rental market and real estate market kind of are parallel in so many ways, as we've learned, and of course all the issues that go along with that. We also completed a television show down at Rogue Valley Community Television this last week, and it's running right now on the RVTV channels at Charter Cable Channel 180 or Ashland HomeNet Channel 9. First part of that show was a Market Watch show. In fact, in the second half, we talked about rural properties and managing some rural properties with the Jackson Soil and Water Conservation District. Okay, that's a little bit of house cleaning stuff. You know, we get together with you every week right here on KMED, and we talk about issues in real estate. And today it's always fun to talk about the market, because when we started our show almost 6 years ago, things were not very good. Our guest, Bob Gervais, who's the principal broker and owner of REMAX Ideal Brokers, and Jeff Furmeister, who's the principal broker at the REMAX Ideal office in Grants Pass, are our guest today. That's true, wasn't that, Bob? 2009, it was pretty bleak around here.
I can remember going into the local bank here where I bank, and the vice president of the bank says, "Congratulations, Bob." And I said, "Well, what for?" And he says, "Well, you raised $35,000 for the CASA organization for the kids here locally."
Yeah.
And he goes, "No," he said, "you're still open for business." And I said, "I'll take your accolades on that one." That was pretty rough, a few years, but you know, it made us stronger, better company.
Well, it's supply and demand, and the home builders have probably been the worst, so affected, because I think Brad Bennington, who's the CEO, says the home builders have about 40% of the people working in the trades has had it before the recession. They haven't ever come back to that, and so they're having a difficult time in terms of finding subcontractors and people to do the work in construction that's going on, which we know has increased from zero. You know, there was nothing for 5 years. Remember that? And now look at it, what's going on. Anyway, that's what's going on. Jeff Furmeister is also here. Jeff, true. I mean, welcome to the show. Butt on in here anytime.
It's very true. In fact, the builders that obviously build some pretty quality homes, and I'm not just talking about the price, but I'm talking about quality of construction, they're having a hard time finding the subcontractors.
Yeah.
You remember 6 months or maybe even a year ago in Jackson County, some of the state officials came down and they started looking around for unlicensed handyman kind of people that were doing construction. So I think that group pretty much is gone now. But we're actually looking, if there's people out there that are looking for a decent job, that know what they're doing, contact some of these builders.
Well, and how do you get educated to learn this thing? And I know that Road Community College, I believe, the way Brad describes it, is the only place that you can get kind of technical training, unless you go out on the job somewhere. But if you don't have any training. But those are good paying jobs, and we're certainly, you're right. It's tough.
Our community colleges have always supported our infrastructure here in Josephine and Jackson County, so that's a great place to look at.
Yeah.
You bet.
Well, Bob's been saying, and people here on our show for the last 5 months have been saying they were looking forward to 2015, saying it was going to be a good year in real estate, and I'm always the pessimist one. I tell Jeff that around the studio.
I look at that and say, well, pessimist is great, but I'm the optimist.
Yeah, exact opposite of me.
We can go on the other side. And in our office, we all thought, well, we'll take a couple days off during Christmas, and spend some time with the family. But our phone started ringing about the 20th of December. So we're already into that recovery.
Well, so I was telling you, I changed my mind.
Oh, good. Good.
I have joined that bandwagon because I too, in our offices as well, because I'm down in Ashland, you're in Grants Pass, they're a long way apart, but still they're different markets. But exactly, you're right. There's there seems to be a lot of buyers out there because the pendings, and so the only interesting part is not very many new listings, it looks like, coming up.
There's a lot of opportunity for those people that want to do the work, you know. But, one thing about the market right now, and it's important that people understand, for a long time, Pete, people would make an aggressive offer on a foreclosure property or on a good deal. And so it was $100,000 and offer, $75,000 and oftentimes get it. But now when you're looking at properties that are 250 or under, and it's a good value, you really need to come in strong on them because they are getting multiple offers right now.
You're getting in that price range, and where do you find that price range mostly at? Is it in East Medford where this is happening? I mean, it's really interesting, Bob, because the statistics show that, of course, in Jackson and Josephine County are both in the same MLS now, which I think is really wonderful. And so we see all the different statistics and properties in both counties. In East Medford by itself is the biggest market, but Josephine County is the second biggest market in this whole area.
One's an apple and one's an orange. They're two different markets entirely. It's hard to compare them. There are a lot of estate type of properties in Josephine County, some beautiful properties, and then there's right aside of it could be a single wide manufactured home that was 70 years old and
that may not qualify for financing. So
that has a lot of ornamental landscaping around.
And those kind of properties are actually getting picked up out in the different valleys outside of town. And what we find out is that the infrastructure, meaning the septic and the well and the road access, adds up quite a bit now. Most of the well drillers seem to be charging, and I'll just say somewhere, let's say $30 a square foot, whereas years ago it was a little bit less expensive to drill those things. So people are picking up the old single wides and removing them and getting a development permit and going that route.
And
too.
Sometimes those are the best properties around.
Exactly.
Because then you can remove a property off of it as well. So tell me about, we always talk in terms of Josephine County and its real estate market, but I mean, you know it pretty darn well, obviously. Is there a difference between here and there? I mean,
I think the services, of course, are night and day right now with Josephine County's, let's say, lack of the O&C money right now.
Yes.
And so those things are getting corrected, and you'll see some more ballots going on the
coming up. Levy,
yeah, that's where I'm going with that.
Sheriff levy,
yeah, the sheriff's levies and stuff. And so a lot of the citizens are actually going to support those now, from what I understand, because it's going to mandate what's going to go where. So that's a little bit of a different philosophy.
Has the fact that Josephine County, the county part, not the city of Grants Pass now, but Josephine County, has not had the level of law enforcement or whatever, has that affected real estate sales in the rural parts of that county? Because I asked that because
that's an
the
excellent
statistics
question.
don't seem to support that.
No, and the stats don't support that. And in the 4 years that I've been listening for that, I've had one person actually sell their house and move towards Bend. And you want to know what that person did for a living before he retired?
Okay, police officer or something?
Yep, deputy sheriff. You got it. Exactly.
Didn't want to be
and
out
that was
there.
it. Yeah. But I think things are changing. And as far as the tax rate, that would be the other thing that people look at, because Josephine County is one of the lowest ones in the state.
Absolutely.
And so they'll go out and they'll spend a little bit more for these big rural homes, and they'll get a couple dogs. So there you go.
So that's what's happening.
Yep,
In what areas of Josephine County would you say are the, I would say the hot spots, but I mean, I always talk about East Medford being, the spot, because it is, I guess. But where in the Josephine County area do you think that is really the areas that people really desire?
Actually, if you remember a few years ago when Cave Junction was being developed and some planned unit developments went in, and you go down to the coast and where that road is all widened out now and stuff, they were probably about 15 years too early.
Probably, yeah.
You know what? And so eventually, in the long run, maybe there will be some more development out by the Illinois Valley Airport and stuff. But in the immediate time, most people want to be between 15 and 20 miles close to town.
Because for medical reasons, for all sorts of things like that.
Whether you're retired or have children in school.
And their favorite school districts also.
And that makes a difference, too. Rural properties in Josephine County, I mean, there's some, as you always talk about, some lovely places around that I don't think we appreciate as many. I mean, there really are. I love driving. I love showing properties, actually. I don't show many, but I love showing properties in Josephine County. But driving through there, working and stuff over the years, it's a unique place, isn't it?
It really is.
The rural properties out there are outstanding.
We can talk a little bit about the Merlin I-5 exit sometime in a future show,
it's going to be
Rendata.
redone.
Exactly. Yeah. And there's a reason they're going to redo that, because they know where the growth pattern is with ODOT. Mm-hmm. So Bob maybe has some information about the Rendata plant along Merlin Road.
I don't even know what that is.
Oh, that's the big old mill that has lots of acreage. And
See, when I turn off and I'm heading towards Merlin,
if you actually are heading towards Merlin itself, it's on the right, and you'll see logs out there and some industrial stuff going on
That's
there.
a lot of acreage there, yes.
You bet.
To be developed or to be used for something as well.
Yep.
It's interesting, yeah.
But to go back to the original question, most people want to have great access to town, so I-5 on the North Valley has been playing a big role. And one of the things that becomes very obvious to me is the rural land values then versus now. And when I say then, I'm talking about the values in 2006 when we started going down the other side of the hill. Well, for an RR5, it was $250,000 without a well or a septic. Now, some of those properties are listed for $99,900. And
Still.
when we right now today,
There's some great values there.
just excellent values. And so those are the things that you're going to see going up.
People coming there.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, who's coming? We talk about that, Bob, on this show all the time. Who in the world is coming, filling these houses? Who's buying? We know there's a lot of retirees, obviously, from California. The baby boomers, we're all coming. But jobs doesn't seem to be the biggest thing. So what's happening in Josephine County? Same thing. Who's coming there? Who's buying these places?
It's a retirement community for the most
It really
part.
is.
Is it?
It's our microclimate retirement community. And yes, there is a lot of shopping that draws the older generation, I'll say, to the Medford area.
Sure.
But they still want to have that country feel. And so they'll go ahead and they'll commute for that 35 or 40 minutes to the mall.
And these are retirees coming up who want a rural lifestyle.
Well,
is that right?
It's quite interesting because what'll happen is a lot of them will say, I want 5 or 10 acres.
Oh, yeah.
And we'll go and show them that 5 or 10 acres. And then I'll say, have you ever maintained anything larger than a city lot?
Do you know what a septic tank is?
Oh,
a septic system is.
Exactly.
Because, and our listeners know this because we have said that to them with Bob before, the rules have changed regarding selling of rural properties with septic systems. Correct, Bob?
The rules are always changing, and definitely they're tightening up the rules.
Yeah.
That and wells and another thing that was used was the wood stoves.
With stoves?
Certifications,
Yeah.
right?
They need to be
Certification.
certified or be pulled out. Those kinds of things that are we're constantly dealing with. In fact, I wrote a contract today, and I think there was probably a total of 20 or so pages, anyhow, 25 pages
of
paperwork to write it up by the time you dot the I's and cross the T's.
It's really changed, and you know,
when I first moved up here in 2003 from Southern California, there was actually 2 pages.
Yeah.
And they were 8.5 by 11, and one of the pages had typing halfway, and then the rest were lines for another page and a half.
Well, that's what happens. That's what happens. I mean, it's called government creep, and I just think it's kind of crazy. I look at the septic rules, and there's, like you say, 7 pages of things the person has to now fill out to submit with the regular real estate documents now.
Right.
Wow, I mean that's a big change. So.
But
Listeners, beware, right? Because go ahead and check your system. Make sure it's working right.
You really need to have that system checked out now. Department of Environmental Quality, great guys, and they're monitoring. Actually, the septic guys are doing it on a volunteer basis as far as reporting it to them currently. And right now, the form, as Bob says, and what you're saying, Pete, it's a lot longer. It's almost double what it used to be.
Mm-hmm.
You want to know what the weirdest septic system I found was?
What was it, Bob?
In Rogue River, somebody had buried a VW bus.
No.
And that's where it wound up.
Oh, boy.
It was a working septic system.
Did it say Rogue River School District?
I would say every real estate broker has a story to tell about a septic system that they had to deal with at one time or another. So beware there. Those rules have changed. And if you better go check it. Make sure it's working correctly as well. By the way, we're with Bob Gervais and Jeff Furmeister from REMAX Ideal Brokers. We've got a break coming up here in a couple of minutes. I'm just curious. Okay, we covered most of the county except the city of Grants Pass. What is that? What's the market like in GP?
We've seen quite an increase over the last 2 years with the urban homes, meaning homes on city lots. And it's interesting the way it always works. We always think of the over a full year, let's say the values went up 12%. But, if you look at our graphs that we'll talk about a little bit later, it didn't really happen that way.
No.
We get this big surge in January, February, and March, and then it slows down a little bit. Then we get another surge, and all the way up to June or July.
It's amazing how that market goes up and down.
It really is.
And is the city under the same pressure as rural properties, do you think?
Oh, you bet. As far as the urban growth boundaries, and we'll talk about that in our next segment here.
All those things play a role, don't they, in where you go and in how you lay out your plans for
the 2040 plans.
Wow, yeah, you got to do all that kind of stuff.
Medford's the hub, if you would, of the Rogue Valley. It's the largest at the international airport, and it's dealing with a lot more geographic area than, say, Grants Pass, who have a far less limited amount of volume of land to be building on. So
but there's still a lot of activity that certainly goes on out in Grants Pass, that's for sure. Hey, the Real Estate Show here on KMED, AM and FM. This show repeats 9 o'clock on Sunday morning. All of our shows at realestateshoworegon.com. We're coming right back after this. The Real Estate Show continues here on KMED this weekend. Thanks for joining us. Pete Belcastro, one of the real estate guys with you this weekend. Joe Brett will be back next week as well. Next week, we'll be talking about property management and rentals. Southern Oregon Rental Association former president and our good friend Laurel Adams from All Cities Property Management will be along. We also invite you to check out the jswcd.org website for the Jackson Soil and Water Conservation District and check out some of their classes that are things that are coming up, including their day camps as well. So there's lots of, this might be February and mid-February, but there's a lot of stuff going on around. So you want to stay tuned for some of that and check those websites out. We're with Bob Gervais, who's the principal broker and owner of REMAX Ideal Brokers on the Real Estate Show today, along with Jeff Furmeister, who's the principal broker at REMAX Ideal Brokers Grants Pass office, getting both counties here in the studio today. And as we talked about, the market in 2015 is doing pretty well for this time of the year as well. Jeff, just as you look at all the things in Josephine County in those wonderful stats that come out from SOMLS, what stands out? What sticks out there in your mind?
Well, briefly, I think the thing that I'd like the public to know is the fact that from 2014 to 2015, when we're looking at our stats here, the days on the market has just gone down quite a bit. And in 2014, and this is the average days on the market, just an average medium, it was 102, and now we're down to 91 days on the market.
Let's come down 10 days, so 10% maybe about 10%, that kind of thing.
10%. Plus, the activity is the number sold during that same time, and I'll actually put it down a little bit more, from November 1 to January 31st, and these are both for 2014, 2015. In 2014, there were only 75 sales, and now in 2015, there's 121.
And that's a significant three-month increase at the time of the year.
Exactly,
I thought
with less days on the market.
Yeah.
So that equates, obviously, to a higher price.
In direct comparison, so people can see what Josephine is versus Jackson counties are doing in the same period, November through January of 2014, there were 380 sales in 2000
last year,
and now they're at 472. So we had a fairly dramatic increase. We did have a little bit of increase on days on market, 68 to 74 or so. But here's what's really important relative to that short span of time. The median price in 2014 was $172,500, and so far this year it's $225,000 on an average.
And that's a significant increase.
That's a significant increase. And we've been saying that all along. I think we predicted a 10% increase over last year, and we're exceeding that.
Countywide last year it ended up at 9.3% overall in Jackson County. Now, I've got my stat that I'll share with you guys and get your opinion on this. Just pending sales, are in Jackson County right now are up, Bob. It continues that trend. They're up 47% from a year ago. There's 200 pending sales right now. And new listings, though, are down 8% from a year ago at this time. And the average, the available homes per buyer is down 31%. There's only 6.3 available, and the month supply is 4.2, down 43%. Now, those are big numbers. What does that mean?
That means your prices are going to go up.
It's a supply and demand thing.
It's a supply and demand thing. Big supply, low demand.
Low demand,
big supply.
Well, there's not a low demand. I mean, it seems like there's a lot of buyers. There's a big demand. There's a lot of buyers out there, but it's the available short supply of available properties.
The price,
A lot of the builders in Josephine County started buying the lots 6-8 months ago, and the supply of even buildable lots is diminishing quite a bit. So that and the median prices between January of 2014 and January 2015. 163,000 for 14, and now just a hair under 180. So the prices are going up, guys.
And on that same period of time a year ago in new construction in Josephine County, the number was 0.
Oh my gosh, it was opposite.
And we saw that for a long time.
Quite a long time.
To see 4 is a significant. It's a 4,000 increase. Anyway, but in Jackson County, Bob, those numbers are now in the 74. A new construction. I mean, there's still a lot of that going on right now, isn't there?
And lots are being, they're actually doing some private money's coming together and doing actually real estate development.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Really? So because we've run out of the available developments, right? I mean, that's what
they were bought at bargain prices from the banks, and now the dirt was cheap, and they were able to make a very good profit by putting a new house there. But now you'll see that the land cost they're buying is substantially more expensive, and that will pass on to the end consumer.
Are lots generally in the two counties comparable in price, would you say, or is there a difference of the bare ground generally around?
Well, in Josephine County, you can still get a city lot, and I'll just give you a couple figures.
Sure.
Anywhere from 38 to 45, let's say.
And they're still there. These are quarter-acre, third-acre kind of lots?
Yeah, they're quarter-acre, basically. Okay. And then in the nicer subdivisions, they'll be a little bit more, 55 to 60.
It's pretty comparable, I think.
It would be more expensive.
More expensive all the way around?
And it depends if it's West Medford versus East Medford, but a lot of the building is in East Medford right now.
Well, we'll see. There is building, that's where it's going. But I'm just surprised at how much there is increased from what it was here, because there were reporting periods in the last 6 years in our show that were one new construction, and 2 and none. It was 5 years of pretty much no
Fortunately, it wasn't
building.
Negative. One's been torn down, so we got over that bit.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with it. I just say that right now with the available, well, even in the Ashland Tour again for the second week in a row, it's literally no new listings, and the tour consists of like 4 properties, and there's times when that thing has 15 new listings, and there's 30 on the tour. So it's really in that period, but there are a lot of buyers out there. That's what I'm seeing. Is that what you guys are seeing? There's a lot of buyers who want to buy.
A lot of activity right now. Yeah. People want to buy. The question is, can they find what they're looking for at the price that they're looking for? Yeah. And they're mutually exclusive,
Well, we'll see if we don't see an increase in the number of listings. Okay, when you come back, or the next few weeks, it will seem like because there's still a lot of people looking to buy. I would say, and all over. I mean, rural properties, whatever, they're
exactly.
everywhere.
And in Josephine County, we're just a little over 500 listings now. And for the public that doesn't remember, in 2008 we had 1,800. So what a difference!
Really?
Yes.
That is quite a difference. Well, there was like 2,000, wasn't that one time here on the market as well?
But again, a lot of people are really holding off listing their properties until April, May, June, when it's a little warmer and the birds are singing and the flowers are out.
And those people that finally sold in California come up for their retirement, and then they're looking.
and they're there. I mean, we always talk about that, and people say, "Oh, you guys are just full of you know what," but that's really true.
When these are the stats.
When you talk to these people, that's where they're coming from. When someone calls on the office and
exactly,
and they want some help, it's interesting to know where they're coming from and what they want to do.
I went to Portland this week to a class talking about changes in the market and so on and so forth. Do you realize that the greatest body of people in the United States in terms of age brackets are in the age of 20 to 22, right in that neighborhood?
That's the largest cohort of people?
Cohort of people, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's the young people.
The young people coming up.
Yeah, and where are they going to go and how are they going to afford these places? And especially if
there's the question right there.
And interest rates are amazing, aren't they? I mean, Guy on our TV show this last week, I mean, he's been saying that we're going to go 3.5 and even some of them even lower than that. So
you bet.
That's amazing that's the, well, well, I don't know when they're going to go up, but right now it's really good.
And that's interesting in that you mentioned that because a lot of the buyers right now looking for entry-level properties, distressed properties, fixer-uppers or whatever, people are pulling their money out of the stock market because it's been a little volatile and stick it in the real estate.
Because it's appreciating, isn't it, in value?
Yep, and the leverage appreciation oftentimes.
And that's why we always say we want you to be a smart real estate consumer, and these are the kinds of situations you find yourself, and you want to take advantage of them certainly if you can. The Real Estate Show, one more segment to go. We're with Bob Gervais and Jeff Furmeister from REMAX Ideal Brokers. We're coming right back in a minute. Real Estate Show continues here on KMED, Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day to you. Hope you're going to have a good day with your sweetheart, whatever that may be, whoever that may be as well. And you have a good weekend. Next week, we'll talk about rental, the Southern Oregon rental market, and catch up with Laurel Adams from All Cities Property Management. And then 2 weeks from today, Guy Giles will be here from Summit Funding, and we're going to go up there on those mortgage interest rates and see what they're going to be like in a couple of weeks and how that may affect any of your decisions regarding buying and selling of property. Today, we're with Bob Gervais, who's the principal broker and owner of REMAX Ideal Brokers, and Jeff Furmeister, who's the principal broker at REMAX Ideal Brokers Grants Pass office. And we're talking about the market here, what we're seeing. One thing here today, we talked about, you guys talked about listing in winter, do you list now and how busy it's been? Well, according to the National Association of Realtors, 38% of homes listed in the winter sell within 30 days, and 14% of those sold for more than the list price. And if you go to March, everybody says we're going to wait till March, Jeff, right?
Yeah, kind of the wrong move, guys.
Listen to this. They do that.
It just doesn't work that way. And talking back with Pete and Bob about supply and demand, the less supply, the higher demand.
Yeah. Well, 39% of homes listed in the springtime sell between 30 days, in 30 days, which is 1% higher than in winter.
More competition. There you go. More buyers in the market.
Yeah, so it doesn't really, statistically wise, may not make that much sense to wait.
A lot of the buyers come out waiting, first-time home buyers waiting for their tax
refunds and things like that. And, of course, there's still programs, that allow you, a few that are out there with no money downs and check those out.
USDA. Actually, the city of Grants Pass, USDA eligible.
The whole city of Grants Pass. I mean, all of Josephine County is a USDA eligible area.
Talk to your lenders. They've got some pretty good deals out there.
That's right, compared to Jackson County, where Medford and Central Point areas are excluded from that. So that's right. Klamath County is the same way. Well, I will tell you, and Jeff, your answer for this question. I heard realtors have told me that if it wasn't for USDA loans, the real estate market in Klamath and Josephine County just would have collapsed. Is that pretty accurate?
That's somewhat accurate. And the reason is because as our job market condensed more and more and more, the availability of homes got higher and higher and higher, and then all of a sudden we flipped it around. And the federal government says, you know what, we're going to help out these rural counties.
Thank goodness that they did.
You bet.
And USDA loans are still my favorite loans because they added a fee to it on the loan process, and the USDA has the lowest default rate of any federal housing program, which is a tribute to people who are buying these properties. Before we get out of here, commercial real estate, Bob Gervais is kind of the expert in that around these parts, and It seems to me that there's a lot. I hear there's a lot of stuff going on. Tell me what you see.
Well, at least we've been very busy, very busy, and it includes people that are not looking for a place to sell their marijuana, because that's a big demand item now. But no, we just we have a lot of activity. People looking from the outside of the area to move in to establish themselves here, and it's the strongest I've seen it for some time.
Really? Mm-hmm. And are they buying properties to do this, or just starting businesses, or looking for space? Because that's a big difference there.
Both. Mm-hmm. Both. A lot of new people have a tendency to, coming into the area, have a tendency to lease before they buy. So they may want a 3-year lease with an option to purchase or something like that. Yep. Some companies, it's just part of their culture not to own the property.
Exactly. And when you're driving downtown, whether it be Medford, Grants Pass, Central Point, or wherever, you can look at the vacancies. And if you remember 2 years ago, there's an awful lot of blank windows. And now we see these new businesses coming in. So the people from out of state, kids that inherit a little bit of money and they've always wanted to do something, let's say, well, basically they'll go out and they'll purchase a home and then they'll open up the mom and pop businesses again. And that really shows you what's going on.
What is there anything you guys have heard coming in, any kind of job creation things? That we've had them on our shows, from So Ready and other places. Have you heard anything going on?
Most of the people that I'm working with right now are going to be hiring people, small groups of people, and they're not. It's not 100, 200 employee type of thing, but
we're not going to get that. I mean,
and the one I've worked with today, they're probably going to hire maybe 10 people.
That's small business. That's
right, and that's actually what supports the economy right there.
That's the backbone of our economy. Is small businesses, people being entrepreneurs and getting out there and getting a lot of government, regulation kinds of things there. It's just so depressing sometimes.
Right, and we have some new grocery chains coming in to Grants Pass. Winco announced that they were going to build in Grants Pass.
So
that's kind of a great thing too.
And downtown Grants Pass is really transforming, much like downtown Medford is, with people living down there, more people, more activity down in there.
In the 5 generations that I've been involved with downtown Grants Pass, the grandparents' era, it was streets going up and down 7th Street, right? and then 6th Street, and then the courthouse built, and all this other kind of stuff. Well, nowadays we have the one-ways, east and west, and all those storefronts. I doubt if our vacancy, it was 52 places for rent 2 years ago. I don't have the stats, but I'm going to say we're probably down between 20 and 24 right now.
That's a pretty good change as well.
That's we're
seeing. Well, but you got to have jobs. I mean,
in downtown Medford's changed tremendously over the last few years. I mean, with the RCC and the courthouse, and
if they build the apartment, if they build those apartments over the parking lot, down there at RCC. I mean, you're going to see a whole change, and people want that, and that creates more business, more opportunities.
We're going to go a little bit urban here and do the Southeast Division in Portland look, and where you've got commercial Class A buildings and stuff, and then you have residences above.
Yeah, that's the way to do it. And even in Ashland, the mayor unveiled a new plan to build he called them towers, 5 or 6 story buildings of housing around transportation hubs. Everything's changing, doesn't it? That would be an interesting thing, wouldn't it? What do you say about have to add that into a new? It's not a condo. It's a
I think they call them mini suites. Some of them are 500 square feet, where you have more of a studio situation.
I wonder. I mean, you got to have.
I have to tell you, I referred a client of mine up to Portland, to the Pearl District, and they're looking for a condo. Now, the Pearl District is downtown.
Yeah, right. Portland, nice area, Portland.
$500,000 to $750,000 for a condo.
Well, that'd just be real nice. Even that 2% interest isn't going to make that thing go as well. We're almost out of time here. Jeff, up in Grants Pass, where's the REMAX office out there? Tell people how to get a hold of you.
Well, basically, we're at the north end exit, and you take a left, you get off the freeway, and you'll see our building between 6th and 7th Street. We're actually located at 1870 Northeast 7th.
All right. Well, good luck to you. You're going to come back and visit with us, okay? Because
it's a great show.
I think our 2 counties, there's so much economic activity between Jackson and Josephine County that, we are together in this thing, both and certainly in real estate as well. Bob, nice to visit with you. We'll see you soon. That'll do it for the Real Estate Show this week here on KMED. Have a great week, everybody. We'll see you next week talking about the Southern Oregon rental market. God bless you and have a great week.
Thank you for listening to the Original Real Estate Show with Pete Belcastro and Joe Brett, the Real Estate Guys. For advice, guidance, or counsel on any of our topics, or to watch a replay of today's show, visit our website at realestateShowOregon.com. This show is sponsored by REMAX, Ideal Brokers of Southern Oregon, Tycor Title, All Cities Property Management, and the Jackson Soil and Water Conservation District. We'll continue our weekly quest to enhance the value of your property and to make you a smart real estate consumer when we gather every Saturday and Sunday on KMED for the one and only Original Real Estate Show.